Hey guys, Lee Taft here with another speed tip from my garage. What I want to talk about is actually in response to multiple coaches sending me an Instagram post that was recently put out by a very good coach on a technique which he's calling a drop step. Basically what it means is pivoting open to be able to go into a crossover run. That's what the skill that was seen on the Instagram. The reason people send it to me is they ask me, do I agree with it? And my answer is no, I don't. And it's not that I feel my philosophy is only right. The only reason why I get so pig-headed sometimes that I don't change is because all the movements I base are based on what I've witnessed for really 3 decades now. But because I've watched hundreds, if not thousands, of athletes perform the same exact thing in the same exact setting every time without fail. Not 9 out of 10 times, 10 out of 10 times. So the reason I'm, again, so adamant about it is the nervous system is always going to win. You can't outdo it, you can't outthink it. Sometimes what happens is coaches try, because maybe they're trying to create a different program or a new product, and I see this a lot. And this is not in reference to the coach that I'm talking about here. He's an outstanding coach. But just in reference, that's why I see people create their own type of drills sometimes, which really don't have any merit in actual movement. So anyway, this movement that was being taught was when we open up, what he wants is you keep this foot down, you push and pivot. Okay, so now if we just go to physics, not even talk biomechanics, just raw physics of movement. I'm creating friction. Friction has positive moments, but that's not one. That's not one. I don't want transverse or rotational pivot pressure at all. Okay, I want to avoid that as much as I can. Where I want friction is when my foot lifts and I push into the ground, doing what we call a repositioning, or in that moment, we would call that repositioning step a hip turn. He referenced sport coaches he hears all the time saying, snap open your hips, or pop open your hips, or, I forget the term he used, but basically whip the hips open. And that's exactly what you want. So those sport coaches are right. But the way that it was referenced was they move, and then he was saying they haven't projected forward. Well, that's because that's the way you demonstrated it. I can do if I'm going slow and control, I can make a pivot and a push look perfect. If I know exactly where I'm going, 45 degrees this way, and I'm demonstrating it slow, it looks ideal. So coaches will look at it and say, oh wow, that's great. See how well, that's not how I'm going to move. In a game, I'm reading, I'm reacting, I'm changing levels sometimes, I'm a little higher, I'm lower, and then all of a sudden something happens and I'm going to move. You pivot, you lose. You're going to be slower every single time. Now I say every single time, maybe a time when the athlete you're competing against isn't as fast, or the play didn't go as fast. But all else being equal, if I don't create energy using laws of physics, okay, I accelerate my foot into the ground, I create an action, and I give an aggressive reaction back. The harder I push, the better that reaction back is, and then it lets me move. I start my acceleration much quicker. So, if you're going to say, snap the hips around, well, of course you're going to be pushing off. You're actually pushing into the ground, or starting to push into the ground before you even touch the ground. So as my legs come around, I'm pushing, so immediately. So I get the benefit of the stretch shortening cycle, this elastic energy. I get the benefit of the exact angle I need right off to push away. Plus I immediately go in the direction I want. If we look at this stance and I pivot, my foot is over here. My center of mass is here. I want to go that way. So this is not in front of this. It's sideways of it. It needs to be here. So for me to pivot and push, it takes me a split second or a moment to get there. Plus I've got all this friction, I've got torsion on my knees. Now, let's take it to another level. Let's say we're in a football game or a soccer match or whatever. We have cleats on. I don't want my athletes pivoting. I want them clearing their cleats, finding a new angle, and pushing off. And that's what does it anyway. And please understand, None of these I've invented, not one of them. All I did is I put a name to them. I put a face on them. I gave them a name, a hip turn, a plier step, a directional step, all these different technical terms that give merit to the technical aspect of how the body really wants to move in live action, and that's what we're after. So in this particular episode, I've got all the respect in the world for this coach. I think he's one of the best. But in this one, he's not seeing it. Okay, you got to be able to see the movement and understand it. It's one thing to develop a drill that's going to be endorsing a movement. This doesn't endorse really quick, raw movement. The second part of it was when you go into your crossover step, okay, the foot has to open. It doesn't stay planted, and we never cross over a fixed foot. We open so the pelvis turns. Now I run through. My upper body might be turned, which tells us it's kind of a crossover, but I punch through. We don't lift high. That's the other point of contention I have with the technique that's being taught is when you turn, they think drive and push down. I don't want to just push down. I want to push back. Because if I push back, I'm in an acceleration mode. Track athletes coming out of the blocks don't lift the knee high. They lift it forward. Okay, because they're in a pitch forward. So it comes forward and it drives back like a piston, not up. So the higher I lift it, the more vertical force I'm getting. I don't want vertical force until I'm getting closer to max velocity. I need some, obviously, to fight gravity. But so really what we're looking for is when we hip turn, we open, now we push and we pull through low, and I'm gonna get my hip flexion and my thigh out there, but it's going to be horizontal length. So now I can drive back. If I lift this way, up and over, and we punch down, we're defeating the purpose of acceleration. So, difference in philosophy. I've had many, many conversations like this with many other coaches, or tried to kind of critique theirs versus my style. But again, my style is not something I've invented. I'm not changing anything. All I'm doing is saying, this is how the human body will move, not might move. This is how it will move in a reactive setting, which is what we're training for. Okay, I'm not training somebody to be good in my gym. I'm training them to be good out on the field or on the court or on the track. That's the bottom line. So we have to look at the clues the nervous system leaves every single time. We embrace them, we bolster them, make sure they're strong, and then we send the athletes on their way, and we just keep making a self-assessment of that point of how we did, okay? All right, so there you go. I'll be back again with another speed tip from my garage, and we'll see you then.